To Welcome Small Town News. My name is Gil, and in collaboration with Imperial County Office of Education, I'm here with Zugeily Estrada, prevention specialist and student advocate on bullying and school violence. I got that right? So, as customer, tell me about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Well, let me start. Well, you know my name now. It's Zugeily Estrada. I was born in Mexicali. That's why I was speaking to you in Spanish earlier. And I tend to go on and off into the English and Spanish, so remind me.
I'll give you like that look, like what?
I didn't catch it.
Yeah, I'll remind you. Yeah.
No, yeah, I get that a lot with students. I was born in Mexicali. I went to school in Mexicali, and then my mom, she got her residence card when I was around 5 years old. So we moved to Indio, California. So I went to school over there, and then throughout 2-3 years that we were out there, we came back to Mexicali. So I've been on and off to schools in the U.S. and in Mexicali, and then there's how much more from my past, and then. When I was right off of high school, it was my first year in college, I had my first daughter. And years later, about 5 years later, I got married and then had a couple of other kids in there. So I'm a mother, a wife, and since I like to be around kids, now I work with kids as well as in ICOA.
Yeah. So what drew you to this? Did you, right when you got ICOE, were you a prevention specialist and advocate, or did it kind of just through time happen?
Yeah, no, it just kind of started driving into before working here. I used to work for ICOE, but as first it was within early childhood education, and I was a instructional assistant. And I was subbing at different schools or sites, and then I would sub in Palm Springs as well. So during the summer, when I wasn't subbing here, I was subbing over there. And then after that, I had the opportunity of subbing here for ICOE for an alternative education school as a probation assistant. At the time, that's what we were called, probation assistants. And as a probation assistant, I got to work with a probation officer. And from that moment on, I knew, like, I want to study something different. It's not about early childhood anymore. There's got to be something that I got to do for the kids before they get to this point, before they hit an alternative ed or before they hit juvie. And so I went back to school. I started, I took my AA in Human Service Management, and then I went to get my bachelor's in Criminal Justice Administration with the concentration in Human Services. And I'm now on my master's for clinical counseling. And I love school. I can't stop. So I don't know after this if I'm focusing on something else, but I'm always a busy bee.
Yeah, you love school. You work at the ICOE. I mean,
yes.
You gotta love it.
That's kind of what drove me back over here. Before working here, I was I was working as a tutor in ACES. And well, ACES is something run by the Student Wellbeing Department here at ICOE. And so I was working with different grade levels. And I had applied at all kinds of places. I had applied here, behavioral health, and I had applied for the ACES program. So I got hired for that one, and then the position for the tobacco, it's called TUPI, but for the tobacco and drug and alcohol program was opened up as for a prevention specialist. So when I came to the interview, it was for that. So after doing the interview and waiting for the call, when I got called back. They told me, you know what, well, actually, we need you for something else that is in that program. They explained the program, and I thought, oh, this is perfect for me. So yeah, once I read the narrative, how it was, what it was for, it fit perfectly. And it was an easy fit because it's not about counseling or therapy, what we're doing with the program, it's education. And it becomes very familiar with a lot of the things that we talk about and work with because it's skill building. It's giving kids the opportunity to use the same abilities they have, but in a different way, and knowing you have this ability to stand up for yourself and be resilient. And so we use different techniques that we have in our curriculums and within our program, what we've been trained for.
Yeah, this is bullying, correct?
This is on.
So I guess, what is bullying? Because some people, I guess, how do you, as a, advocate, how would you define bullying?
So your general, where you're going to see everywhere, and the repetitive of it is the imbalance of power from one peer to another. Bullying is a child or an adult or person itself trying to keep or extract the power of another student. So there's a saying in Spanish, el que se enoja pierde. The one that gets mad loses. So technically, if you were to see it in the mind of the bully, it's a game. And if I make you mad, I win. And so one of the things that we turn around is, okay, I'm working with victims of bullying. I'm not working with the bully. Because the most important person in this whole situation is the person who's experiencing all this stuff. So when I work with them and I ask them, what do you think bullying is? And the definition that each kid has is very different than the ones that we read and that we know about. So technically is that the bully is a person that wins in a game. The bully is the mean person that likes to take advantage of me. The bully is the one that loves to make me angry. So their definition is emotional. It's different. So the universal is that it's an imbalance of power from one person to another. But the definitions that I do go with is the definition that each victim has.
And anyone can be a bully, right? Or
Everybody, and I've been saying this lately, we talk about it here and I talk about it with parents and the students that I work with. Everybody has been bullied at one point. If you go through the definition of it, everybody's been bullied. It's just we have abilities to either stand up for ourselves or bounce back from anything. And some mothers don't have that ability yet. It hasn't been utilized, or it's not a skill that was needed yet. I worked a lot with the characters from Inside Out, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but these are all emotions inside of a little girl. And when we work on those emotions and they define it, and it's easier for them to analyze, externalize, and say, okay, this is the way I control anger, and this is the way I control the bully. Keep it away from me. So if trying to make sense on this one is, we're all bullied. We all go through it. It's just how we take it is different. Everybody takes bullying in a different level. And it could be normal conflict. It could be, that healthy conflict that you need to have with another person. But we took it as bullying, and it's affecting us because we weren't able to resolve that situation or that conflict. So it varies, and everybody, at any point with teachers and staff, when we work on this and we explain what they're going to be seeing around their classroom or in recess or any setting, is your perception of bullying is not going to be the same one that child is having. So whenever he comes to you or she comes to you and tells you, I've been bullied, you actually listen and you ask, what happened? Give me examples, give me, the details. Because then you can understand his perception or her perception of the bullying situation she was going through.
yeah, so we might say, they're just teasing you, but they might see it as it's far more than that.
Yes, and then it might be teasing, but you don't tell a person, oh, it's just teasing, don't worry about it, because that's not what he needed or she needed at the moment. She needed someone to listen, someone to actually care and say, okay, let me see what we're going to do about the situation. Because it mattered so much for that kid to actually come and report. And that's one of the biggest things. They stop reporting and they stop talking about it because they are told so many times it's tattling. And we need to start making a difference. It's not tattling, it's telling. We work on something which is really funny, and it came up from a kid. And he says the only difference that he noticed was from making the difference from telling to tattling is that I report a police officer when it's something dangerous, when it's something big, something that I can't handle. Tattling is when it's not needed, when a police or an adult is not needed. When he made that difference, it was so clear to me to understand that's true. We don't go to the police and say, hey, my brother didn't want to brush his teeth. Like, we don't say these things because that's, it turns into tattling. But you do tell when someone's hurt. You do tell when it's an emergency, when it's dangerous. And so making that difference with the kids has made a difference for them to report. And now it doesn't mean that because of reporting or that, this school has a lot of bullying and we've noticed it because all these kids are coming out. No, the difference is that these schools are caring so much that they're now listening and reporting. They're actually listening to every report. They're acknowledging and addressing it in schools. And that's what I'm very proud of. From the schools that we work with, we're working with 8 districts. And I'm so proud of listening, not just the teachers, but the parents actually have a better communication with the school. They feel safe. They actually feel listened because even if it's a referral to see if the child qualifies for the program, if they fit, the characteristics of a victim of bullying, they're actually being listened to. And they feel like the school actually is trying to do something, beyond the reach of their hands, which is the program that we're running with every school district.
So you said, there's more reporting. is today, is there more bullying, or is there just more awareness and reporting than maybe a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades ago?
I think there was a lot of bullying. There's always been bullying, and there was a lot of bullying. For example, I went to Calexico High School, and I remember in high school, I used to live in Mexicali and cross the border, and there was a lot of jokes. You know, if we want to call them jokes about los chicalones because you were walking from Mexicali over here, or you were from Mexicali. And for some people, it was very offensive, and it hurt. It was very diminishing. And for some other people, I didn't really care for it. It was fun for me, but it was a perception that we all had. It's happened. I think now we are aware of what could be bullying and what isn't bullying. There's a lot more reporting. There's a lot more awareness. Like everybody's talking about how this is leading to worse things, leading to the cause of other traumas, and it's following. So I think there's more awareness, there's more reporting, and it's being addressed as something legal, as something that is not just the teasing, it's not just the joking around and you'll get over it. No, it's getting dangerous. So I think that's the biggest reason why a lot of it is coming out. We have social media, and it's a big outlet to report and to address these things and talk about it. But it's also kind of scary that you're reporting a lot of false information, and kids don't really know the information they need to have. So I mean, it's not, well, no, I can't call it a too blade knife on that, but to answer your question shorter, it would be that there's a lot more reporting.
Yeah, and like you said, brought up social media. How has that changed? I mean, because it's so fast. When I was in school, it was MySpace, and then that's done now, and Facebook, and then Snapchat, and then now Twitter, and all. How has social media in such a fast time changed bullying, and how, as an advocate, have you adapted to that? How have you addressed something like social media?
So you have one of them. Legally now, you consider cyberbullying. It's a legal offense. So not only did the law start making these changes for us and addressing them, but you have social media. It's an outlet where you really cannot have a beginning or an ending to. And there's so many things that we can do. There's so many things happening. There's so many programs trying to identify, who's the bully, who's doing this. But it's so difficult. So the only thing we actually can do, and what we work with the students on doing and staff, is one, creating that awareness of what happens in cyberbullying, and the other one is, what do you do when it happens? It's not, let's take it away completely. It's not going to happen, because the point is, it happens. And if we keep thinking we need to stop it, and we need to focus on how we're going to stop it, then we're wasting our time to those that are experiencing and when it is happening. So we don't want to waste that time. We want to work on actually addressing the fact that it happens, and that we have in hands a plan to know what to do when it happens. So a lot of the students, cyberbullying happens a lot more, and I'm going to go with it, 5th, 6th grade, all the way to high school and up.
That's crazy.
But you are having a lot of 3rd grade playing Roblox, and there's bullying in Roblox. You have Minecraft. There's a lot of messaging between it, and there's a lot of apps and games that affect that whole perception, the reality of bullying and not. But there's schools now, and talking to parents, I've realized there's so much behind. There's trauma, and we need to make trauma-informed schools. We need to really address the situation if we want to work with the victim of bullying, which is experiencing trauma, but also to recognize these bullies. They are coming from a home that might have a lot of trauma, and there's a lot of issues. We can address all these things if we are making people aware of it and addressing it.
Yeah.
Not believing, oh, it doesn't happen here. But just saying, yes, it does happen, and it's a common thing. It's not normal, but it's a common thing, and now we're going to start addressing it. I think that's the biggest difference with it. So cyberbullying, bullying, smaller offense, I don't like to make the difference between school violence and bullying, because physical bullying becomes assault. So that's the same thing. School violence is within it. But it's getting to a point where the misinformation or the lack of information is creating chaos around all of us. A lot of parents, social media, again, you have an outlet for parents without information or without knowledge of the process and the steps to take when bullying occurs, that are exposing a lot of things without going through the proper channels. And kids are embarrassed now. Kids are worried to tell a parent because then the parent's going to explode and do something different. And when working with the parents, I realized all the parent is trying to do is, tell the child, I have your back, I'm here for you, without knowing that in a moment we lose track of who was important here. And exposing the child on all the situation just makes it worse.
Yeah, I didn't even, that's,
Yeah, no, and I have the same thing with a lot of the parents. They're like, well, and I tell them, okay, so I was a middle child. I did not know the language when I came over here. I had cousins making fun of my language or my accent. And then growing up, I was the shortest person, the weirdest name you can think of. So everybody would, use my name in a different way. So I tell them, like, we all experience bullying at home, at school. We experience a playground, at a supermarket. It's a kind of conflict that you take home and it affects you. It's that kind of situation. The thing is that if we don't want the information to help me, but we want it to use against other people, then we're affecting even more the person that needs the help. And parents, when we start talking about, this is the process and this is why, and this is what we do, it creates kind of like, the eye opener that you had right now. Like, I hadn't thought about who was really important here. Why was I doing this and who was I doing this for? Standing up for my child and exposing this whole situation online just created a long life history of what this child went through. And now she or he wanted to work on it, is going to have a harder time to let go, because guess what? My friends when I'm in high school are going to remember everything that went on social media. They're going to bring it back up. And so if this kid can work on whatever issue they had or whatever problem they had experienced, they're going to have to do it over and over and over again until, social media changes to the point where we can actually erase it and, lose the track of whatever was exposed. That there's a lot more to think when we're working with kids, or when I'm working with the children and I have that conversation, or we have the groups, and you listen to what they're saying, it makes a lot more sense to get to their level and say, as a victim of bullying, when I was younger, when I used to be made fun of, and I realized that standing up for myself felt good. That was my resilience part working. That was the part of me that said, if you keep doing this, if you keep bouncing back after a situation, you can deal with everybody. You can deal with teachers being mean. Not necessarily being a bully, being mean. Well, I never get a call here. I feel important now.
you're a star.
I am.
No.
But it's probably fun.
Yeah.
But no, it's a long topic. It's so interesting. When I talk to principals or superintendents about it, it's so fun for me to actually have the conversation with them and know that they're so interested in knowing, what do I do? It's not that I don't want to do it. It's not that I don't want to address it. But how do I do this without, involving the school into another situation, or not knowing the answers when parents ask me something? So how much more can I learn? So one is look for information, everywhere, even if it's Google, even if it's anywhere you can get the information on how to, and talk about it. Sit down with students. Students will tell you what they need to hear, what they want to hear. And so that's the point to begin to start talking about it in a different setting. So, but I'm proud. I'm very proud of where I'm at right now, who I get to talk to, and what we're doing. And I think, without going too off from what we were talking about, when this grant was, placed in front of us, and we were told, okay, well, we need to work with children that are victims of bullying, and we thought, okay, so how do we begin with the schools? How do we tell the schools we have this program, and they're going to have to address, the fact that there is bullying in their school? How do we start talking to, to principals and superintendents? And a really cool fact there is that a lot of the superintendents were only, they opened their arms in the point where, thank you, we needed something, another resource to provide to parents when they come to us with this, with this worry. We don't want to tell them, well, we did everything we could and there's nothing else to do. We want to be able to say, you know what, there's this other program that might benefit your child. You want to try it out. And it's not, therapy, and it's not counseling, or you're not sending them to a psychologist, because that's scary for a parent. But you tell them there's a program, they're going to teach them skills, they're going to work on it, they have activities and role play, they do art. There's so much things going on with this program that it's healthy for the child. No more, sit down with me, we're going to talk about your emotions and your feelings and what happened. Now we're going to work on getting over that fact. And this is what the program is doing.
So is it kind of like an empowerment?
It is. And it's funny because every time they ask me, I have to give examples of what we do. There isn't that one, it's advocacy. In all its essence, it's advocacy. And when you advocate a person, you're empowering that person. You're bringing, you're teaching resilience. You're teaching that person that all you needed was a little, a little push, a little, a little bit of self-esteem in there. And you need sometimes someone that brings back, those little things. I need my picture friends that tell me things once in a while that remind me, hey, you got this. You are that person that can sprinkle shine all over the place and go for it. Because there are times where, you kind of let go of it and you start feeling like, is it important what I'm doing? Am I seeing any difference? Is it working? And then you get, I get letters from the kids that I work with or art that they do. There's some kids that explain and express their emotions with drawing. And they'll tell me in the beginning, this is how I felt and this is how I feel now. And they'll show me their art and it's more than I could ask for, more than a paycheck, more than anything that we're doing here. It's that it actually works for them. And all they needed was just someone that actually cared. So anybody could be an advocate. Anybody out here could be standing along to a child that was feeling, sad or worried because someone else is making them feel bad. And you just say, I'm here for you. Do you want me to help you? Do you want me to talk to someone for you? And they know someone had their back. Easy words. Or to tell them, what, if you do a report, I'm going to be here. And that's all they needed, to know that someone was going to have their back.
Yeah. No, I know, like, when I was growing up, I heard, like, you just stand up to a bully, you got to fight back. But there's different ways.
Right.
It's just standing up doesn't mean, I'm going to fight. It means, like you said, empowering. And I guess, so when you hear, like, these old, kind of these old folk sayings, obviously, it's kind of outdated.
It is. And not only that, look, I understand every parent that has said, I told my daughter that if they do something to her, she needs to do something or else I'm going to do it to her. And think about it. This child has the fear of, am I going to be able to defend myself with this bully and then go home and what if my mom's mad because I didn't do exactly what she expected, or my dad? So this kid is not only traumatized by the expectations at home, but the expectations of a crowd that's yelling. And then, is he can really stop? Is this child really going to stop? And if you think about every time when I work with the children and not getting into any other situation between schools, I love to tell them, okay, so you defend yourself, you stood up to yourself and you fought back and it was physical. Did you get at his level? And they said yes. Did you like being at his level? Because then you're at a thin line of becoming a bully yourself. So that's one. The second one is, do you realize that you just lost because you got a consequence too? So in reality, the bully didn't lose. He got what he wanted. He got you angry. Or she got you to fight back. Is she going to stop? She might not. Maybe she will. She'll think that you're going to respond every time you do. But what if she's stronger than you and you end up getting hurt and expelled? So you see, if you put in a balance all the consequences you're going to have and you have the ability to think all these things before, then yeah, you're going to be a lot smarter. You're going to walk away with the feeling that you didn't get me this time. And that's the thought that you need to walk away. But then we have all these bystanders, these kids that are around and they're empowering the bully to do the things that they're doing. So not only to work with a victim of bullying, but it's also very important to work with the bystanders. That the setting that we're creating in schools is telling the kids, if you stand around, you're just as bad as the bully. So not only did we have one here, but we had all of you kids recording and doing what you were doing. So I know that one of the schools that we had worked with, or that I've worked with before, if they know who's in the crowd, they all get the suspension. It goes, completely on the same level. So those are one of the things that you start seeing in other schools that it's working and they're actually considering what you're telling them that might work, which is that. That is for me. I'm so sorry, you guys. Maybe that was my call. I'm feeling so important now. Am I going live? Maybe I am.
You're not live. You could go live. They could blow up.
No, but I love talking about this. So I do. I get so into it. And with parents, one of the things that it's worked, we don't really do like a parent training, or we don't have, a full load of parent meetings, because this is working with the child itself, the student. And so all the time it's going to work with the student. But when I do get the time to meet with the parents when they're starting the program and they want to know what it's about and how is the child going to start the program, and I get that opportunity to talk to a parent, oh, I take advantage of it. And I leave them with something that they can work at home. The idea of us as parents thinking it doesn't happen, it happens between siblings. And it could be normal conflict, which they learn how to resolve, but it can also be bullying. And it happens a lot, and we know it does. So I think acknowledging that it happens at home, not only at school, and that schools are not responsible for everything that happens, that we need to teach our kids to be able to respond to these situations. When talking about the consequences, parents get really upset. Why did he get suspended if, the other one was messing with him? Well, simply the fact is he responded in a negative way. He wasn't defending himself if he's punching back, if he's doing all these things, but we don't want your son to get hurt either. So we need to make, or the schools want to teach and show that there's a consequence for our actions, even if it's defending ourselves. Because if you're in the street fighting, believe me, the cops are going to get both of you. They're not just going to get the person because they don't know the whole situation. They'll take both. So it happens the same way at school when a teacher comes in and they're trying to address the situation and know what actually happens and they didn't see it. Well, right now you're both on the same boat because what I saw was this. And it's hard for parents to hear that because they want to know what actually did you do. Did you actually get, who did it? And every parent's going to think, their child is innocent. We all do. And so that's one of the hard parts here with physical violence or for physical bullying. But it's our approach as a parent when we start addressing these things with the school and we start talking about it with our children. Are we telling our kids to fight, to go look for it because you're fed up, to stand up and punch the kid when you have options? There is a team that is doing some, it's kind of like with jujitsu, and they're teaching kids not to fight, to defend yourself. So if you're being tackled, all you have to do is cross your arms and push them away, and then you walk away or you run away. And when kids are like, no, but that's, I'm a scary cat. I'm like, well, don't you rather be that than be suspended and be now the bully? Like you have a choice. And it's not putting yourself down, it's just knowing that you are a smarter person that made the smartest choice. And it's harder when they're older, it's a lot harder because it's the peer pressure. And they're trying to please other people, not themselves or the parent itself. It's, what the crowd's going to think. And so I think if we as a community, we would do a triage of it, and the parents work with the school works with the parent and other resources outside of the community. Imagine how that child would be raised. Like you can have a child that actually goes in feeling safe because, hey, you have all these people working around to create that safety and you're doing it yourself. You are part of it. When you say stand up for yourself and you tell a person, you know what, that's enough. Words are not, enough for you anymore. So now I'm calling this assault. And I need to work on it that way. And then you use those words and you tell the people, you're being a bully. What you're doing is wrong. Now they know that being a bully has a consequence. So those words kind of create this shock and they step away a little. But yeah, words itself is not enough. You need to show action. You need to show that what you said was going to be reported. You are going to take action. And parents, there are steps for the schools. You report. Every incident, that's the first thing you do. You report. The second, you're recording all these reports that you're having. You're recording, you're making notes. You go to the school and you address this with the school. You ask to speak to a counselor if the counselor is available. Because in the end, you need your child to feel comfortable. You need your child to feel safe. It's not revenge. And it's not payback. It's about your child. And so you want all the resources possible for your child to be taken care of. But I think we lose it. And in the process, we're so upset and we want to blame someone because we want to know what's happening, what we're going to do. But we start asking what the consequence to the other child is going to be. We stop asking, what are we going to do about my child? And I think it's bringing us back to that idea, like you need to worry about what's more important to your child. And as a school, I think we don't know how to tell the parent that. We don't know how to tell them, we can't give you information about what we're following through this case. We can't give you information about the other child because of safety issues too. But we can do something about your child right now, which matters. And I think it's a learning process. Indeed, schools are learning to do that. They're using other resources that are out there. We are one of them. There's other programs, from behavioral health too, that they're taking advantage of because they want the best thing for a child.
Yeah, it's an emotional thing when, and I can see how difficult it could be for a parent to have to say, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's tough.
It is. And see, that's the thing, when I talk to parents as a parent, I'm an advocate to the child and I explain to them, I am here for your child. I'm not here exactly for the school, which, I'm very thankful for, but I'm here for your child. And that is the most important person. So in the end, I'm going to advocate for your child. And I'm talking to you because you are the first person and the first link to that child. But this child is here more than half the day, than he is with you. So you want to know that your child comes in and is safe. But your child wants to know that you're okay with the school you're sending him to. How is he going to feel, secure and sure if you're not okay with that? So communication between parents and school is very important for the child to feel safe. And to be able to tell a teacher, one of the things that we ask within the program and we start addressing is, do you have a teacher, do you have someone in school, a staff, that you can trust to? And that you can go to and say, you know what, this is what happened, and know that they're going to protect you. And the majority of the kids, have to think about it. Is there an actual teacher that I would go to? Is there someone? And when we mention bus drivers and staff, we have yard duties, we have a lot of people out there. Do you have someone? And they really have to think about it. That one person you just gave them a little seat to. Whenever you need help, that's the person. Now you have it in mind. Do you have someone at home? Who do you trust at home that you know that whatever you tell them, they'll protect you? And they go there. They have those people, and usually it's mom or dad or their big sister or big brother. But it's bringing them back something that they knew they had, but they hadn't thought about it in that essence. That if they need help, if they need to report it, they need to talk to someone, they have someone they trust. And now that you have a name and a list to it. And now it's saved and stored in your brain.
Yeah. And, except when the parents, sometimes when these incidents occur, it's totally new to the parents.
Yeah.
The kids sometimes have their own, world, and the parent might not even know. I mean, you talk about Roblox. I mean, it's like the kids have their world at school and they come home to the different world on the internet, the different world on social media. And I think that kind of brings up the point of trust and communication for them to allow someone into these worlds.
And have an open mind. Like, the older we get, I think we become a little bit more close-minded about the things that happen and things we don't want to know about. Like, if you're doing that, I don't really want to know. And I know, like, for example, my son loves to play on the PlayStation, and now there's you have to have an account in order to communicate with other people, and he wants the headphones, and to me that's all scary. And I was like, no, you can't have all this stuff, you can't have, but because I didn't want to have the time to monitor. And so when I opened my mind to, okay, he's going to use it, he's going to have access to this, so why not know what it is? And sit down with him. Oh, he loved me sitting down and losing at every game he was putting out there for me. But then I got to know what his environment was in that place, what he was watching, what he was playing, his thoughts of what he's using. Because his perception of it is very different than the perception I have. So the effect of that game on his mind is very different than the one that I'm thinking he's going to have. So it goes, any way that you put it, it always has to come to the perception of the child. Are we asking that child, hey, how was your day? Oh, well, it was good. This happened. Oh, that's awesome. And actually have that conversation where you allow him to say and express, the way he saw the things happening, not the way we think it actually happened. My daughter, for a while, she's in kinder, and bullying happens at kinder in different ways. But my daughter, and we were talking about it earlier, she loves Nutella, and so she asks for a sandwich of Nutella every day, and that's what she takes, and it's her snack, it's not even lunch. And she'll have it, and for a while, her favorite friend would ask her for that sandwich, and she's like, I don't want to take Nutella sandwiches anymore, because so-and-so is asking me, and I'm not allowed to share my food, so I don't have the problem, I don't want to take it. And I didn't think of it any other way, but then when she started saying, like, okay, now I'm not talking to this person because they're upset that I'm not giving them, my sandwich. And then I thought, those are one of the examples. When they bribe you, when they manipulate you to be your friend, that's a form of bullying at a younger age. And so, one of the things that I did is communicate this with the teacher and know that these kids are kids and that they're learning these abilities, these social skills. It's a learning process. So I use this as a learning experience, and I did tell my daughter, you need to talk to him. You need to tell him that, this is your sandwich and there's rules at school, and you don't want to lose his friendship, but you don't want to get in trouble either. And if from there on that kid doesn't want to be your friend, then you totally understand. And I go, but these are the words that need to come out. You don't have to worry about, if that kid will be your friend, forget about it. And then you'll be friends again. So knowing that my daughter did try and comes back all happy, The first time she said, well, now we can make him one and one for me. And I said, no, that's not how it works. No. But the teacher did a really cool thing. She worked with both of them and explained it to the whole class as a learning experience, why we can't do these things and why it becomes bad if we, tell a friend, I'm not going to be your friend if you don't give me this. So it was a learning moment, and it's the communication between the parent and the school, the parent and the child, and now the child with, the other person. And it became no more conflict instead of bullying. So it is a triage. It has to work all over the place of that child or around the child for it to work. And as she grows older, to become resilient and know these things are going to happen because conflict happens. Whether it becomes bullying or not, it comes from us. It comes from our reactions to it. So I mean, so far it's working with some of my kids.
Yeah, and it's not even about, like you said, speaking up. It's not even like no. It's sometimes just, hey, you know what? Let me talk to, because I my fiance and had this talk the other night when I told her I was interviewing you about bullying. I was like, I think I made fun of kids. Like I didn't, maybe sometimes kids, as a kid, you don't know, like you said, that bribery, that kind of, you don't know. You don't know if it's, they don't know if they're being bullied, and the kind of, sometimes the bully doesn't know if they're doing bullying. It's just kind of.
It's a reaction. It's a part of their social skills and their learning process. And it happens when they're young, and I think it's our reaction as a parent if we worry them and we scare them and we tell them, oh my God, no, that was really bad, and I don't want you to talk to that kid anymore. Instead of teaching the child, okay, this is what happens. And it's, my son said the other day, he's 5, and he says, he threw something, and we're like, why are you throwing these things? What's going on? Tell us, why is that the reaction? It's normal because that's my age, and mom said that was normal at my age. And I'm like, oh, what did I say? So, what we tell our kids, they hear, they listen, and they're paying attention to what we're saying, and they're going to use it at a certain moment. So in this case, telling our kids, yeah, it's something that happens at a certain age. It's not for them to allow it to happen. It's for them to understand that it shouldn't affect us as much because it's going to happen. So that perception changes, the feeling about it changes. Even as an adult, even where we work, if we start feeling that, it's an attack and it's personal and it's, and the means to it is to put you down, then of course it's going to affect you. And you're going to walk around, feeling like the environment you're in is not safe and you don't like it. But, do you know if the actual person's trying to put you down? Do you know if this is only to you? Has it happened constantly? So we go through the whole process, and if at one point we realize, no, this is probably just me now, then it doesn't stay within us. We become resilient to it. We can bounce back from it, and see, what am I doing, or what is the other person doing that I need to address? The same happens with kids. We need to teach them to address certain situations, like talk about it, use those moments, tell a teacher, explain to the teacher what you're trying to say. But it's their skills. We all have them, but we haven't really used them or made use of them. So, we can work on it. We can, teach our kids how we've responded. But for sure, violence is never, ever. And I get it. I think sometimes I feel like, oh my God. I get that reaction of the parent trying to protect it, and I'm just going to keep you right here, and you do something, because I don't want anybody to hurt you. But who we turning our kid into has a lot to do with what we say and what we do. So I think that is one of the talks with parents that has a big discussion, because it's changing the perception we have when we teach our children. It's the culture we have. And now we have a mix of cultures because we're right across the border. So we mix these cultures with the ideas that we were raised with. And then, the laws and the things that are safe for children and what is wrong. Why will they call CPS on you? So you need to think of all these things when you're talking to your children and telling them how do you respond to this stuff. But I do agree that we need to post or use social media in a more effective way, and use, write down, put steps, and throw them out there. What do we do when it's happening? How do we address this with our child when it's happening? What things do we watch out for? If, that we need to notice to know if my child is being bullied? How do I know if he's not telling me? Or I notice these changes, who do I talk to? These are questions that parents actually have, and we need to have that list with answers for those parents everywhere, not just schools, but also in the home.
Yeah, it's more important than ever. You hear of, children, committing suicide, or, committing violence, when it's, there's been bullying involved. And so now it's kind of, parents do have these questions, and so say a parent's listening, they're hearing you right now, and they'll be like, hey, I get it. I think this is going on. What's the first step to address a child that's being bullied as a parent?
So first, the way you find out about your child being bullied. When a child comes to you, the first thing is you really need to acknowledge the fact that they came to you, because that is the first step that the child's going to consider and keep in their mind. That from here on, if I tell my parent about something that's happening, they'll do something about it. And the other thing is to keep calm. I think we jump those little steps and we tell them what to do with the school, but we're not telling them what to do at home before you get to that process of letting the teacher know. And I know, because I do, like, in the moment, I feel like, why is it happening to my child? Like, I should have said all these things. Have I not said it enough? Poor kids, I have them, like, going around with all this information. But from parent to parent, from one to the other, keeping calm when telling our child, how important it was that they came to us and they reported and that they told us what had happened. And then from there, tell them, explain to me exactly what happened, so that, as a parent, we can identify if it was bullying or not. There's a lot of resources online that can show you the difference between normal bullying and conflict, and what is bullying and normal conflict, sorry. But if you just, look it up and if you type down normal conflict versus bullying, and you see the differences, you start noticing if what your child told you that he experienced was normal conflict, then you can teach your child to resolve the situation and become independent. If it is bullying, then you follow up with the teachers and go to the teacher, the people that has constant contact with the child at school. And from there, you go and request a counselor, request to speak to the principal. Not only because you want things done and they want the child to stop, or they want a consequence for the child, but no, because now your child is going to be watched for. The focus of when reporting is that you want your child to be okay. You want your child to know that you did something, that you have that child's back. But you also want the parents and the teachers and the school staff to know that this child has experience. Watch out for it. We want it to stop. We don't want it to happen. So work with my child as well. And again, what I was saying earlier, we focus so much on the consequence for the other child, thinking that's going to solve it. My child's going to be happy if the other, kid has a consequence. But no, the truth is we want this child to stop. And the best way to have the other child stopping is that your child is okay, that your child knows how to respond to the situations. And that the school does the appropriate thing once they have the information with it. But I think in the moment, it's normal for a parent to go overboard and think, I'm going to protect my child. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And you kind of, if you're not practicing these things, or researching the proper ways to identify situations, then yeah, we're going to react in the best way that we know, and it's the way we were taught. And so the situation has changed from back when we were kids to now. A lot of it, we talk about a way to respond to bullying, and it works, whatever age level or grade you're in. But there's in the curriculum that we have, which is Bully Proofing Your School, there is an activity that's called the Ha-Ha So. And it's, you use humor to disseminate or to kind of ignore the bully action. And this is when it's verbal. We're talking about verbal bullying. When it's physical bullying, and I like to use that, it's assault. And I don't call it bullying anymore, because if someone's using violence, that is not bullying, that's assault. So if you use verbal and you have a kid talking about you and they're saying things to you and you have someone next to you, you turn around and you say something funny about the person without hurting the person's feelings. So one of the examples that I had with one of the students is there was a kid that kept coming in and saying things in front of him, and he was in the disc. And this kid would cry and respond to it and get up and get angry and step away. And so he always had a consequence because he was reacting to the situation, and the bully loved it. So one of the activities that he had for the week was, you're not going to respond to it directly. You're going to turn around to a friend. So you're going to have a friend next to you. And whenever this bully is making fun of your clothes, you turn around and you say, oh my God, I should have worn something different because today was the day. And you laugh about it. You're talking about what the other person is doing. So the person knows that you're talking about him, but you're using it as in jokes. And guess what? You just told the bully, what you're saying is so funny that I can ignore it. We're ignoring you. We're talking about it, but we're ignoring you. And so you use another person. You use that kind of, you deflect the whole situation, but you're acknowledging what you're doing. It's dumb. It's going to eventually stop because I don't care anymore. You're not going to win. It's not a game.
It's talking about that power imbalance. You're taking that power
away from the other person. And if you think about it, if it's a game for the bully and you're not playing the game, there's no game to play. Like the bully doesn't want to get into a game that he's not going to win, and so there's no more bullying. And they're going to find someone else. Targets are easy. They'll find anything, and the reaction of a target is what becomes is where the bully takes it, or it takes the power. So say you have a couple of kids walking in the classroom, and you have your typical bully, and the bully sees, one of them has ugly shoes. And this kid, if he says, well, your mom really needs to buy new shoes, where's the money going to? Makeup. And these are actual stories. And if the kid does respond to it and looks at it and feels bad about it, the bully right away noticed, I had a catch on his emotions, I just recharged my power. And you're going to be the one. And from there on, because there was a negative reaction from the other side, and you just took the power away. And you have other kids that look down at their shoes and they laugh and they keep walking. I was like, all right, it was a joke, fine. And you just kind of, it's not ignoring the fact that they did something, it's ignoring the fact that you have any power at all. And it takes time. It takes a lot of practice, and it takes time. And when they do, the kids do the role play. And it's funny in the moment, and they're laughing about it. But I tell them, does it feel bad? What my words were, they feel bad? They're like, no, because you're the teacher. Well, this is what you need to see in other people. Some kids that I work with that have autism, it's a little bit difficult to explain the emotion part of it. Because they don't like it, and they react to it. But there's nothing they can actually do to change the fact that the bully will use them as targets. So the only thing is the effect. So you memorize, you do role play, and what they practice is, over and over and over until they realize, if I just don't react to it, if you're talking and I'm walking away from you, the person that stays mad is you. And I really don't have anything to carry on because it didn't really matter. And they try, and it works. And there's a lot of the kids that I worked with that come back and they say, I tried it 3 times, and they record it, and they tell me exactly, like they'll give me a detailed list of everything they did and how it worked and what they're going to keep trying. And if there was something new they tried, which is awesome when they have autism. But it's a learning experience to me too. Like I said, we all experience bullying. I've experienced bullying in different ways, and I became resilient because I had to. It was just kind of the pattern that I had to go with. And I like to be happy. I don't like to be in those, down moods. And so I like to pass these things along with the kids. It's your choice. Today is going to be a bad day. Because regardless of what people do out there, it's your choice what you keep and you drag with you. And their words can be mean, but do they matter? And whose words matter more? So when they start realizing these things and they repeat them and they wake up with the idea, today is going to be awesome. Even if the world's falling, today is going to be awesome. And it's just finding these positive things along the way. And you say, okay, at least this thing was positive. And I'll, just grab from that one. But it's a lot about emotions and perception. A lot about perception.
Maybe you give this program class to adults, I think.
Right, it'd be
the
fun.
power of,
I would love to. It's fun to talk to adults because you know that what you're saying right there, it's right there. And you left it there. With children, it has to be continuous. And it has to be a lot more where you actually dig into therapy. Therapy for kids that have been victims of bullying is a best thing they can have. And I understand that parents get scared about it, but if they asked me if your child was a victim of bullying, if it was a physical kind of bullying, if it was cyberbullying, allow therapy. Take your child to therapy. Do not be embarrassed. We all have to go through it at one point. We all need a therapeutic moment, and sometimes we use friends. We use a sibling to provide the therapy, and it doesn't have to be within the mental health or behavioral health spectrum, but it has to happen because you need it, and that's the self-care part actually. But I can keep going and going on this one, but it would be fun to have a group and to talk to other adults, because when I do get to talk to the parents, I know that I did something for the child that was extra and beyond the need of the education that they were receiving. So yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm approaching the hour, so I'll wrap it up. Any final thoughts, brand desires you'd like to leave off with?
To leave off, you know what? I really want to make a big point on this. The program that we're running and why it was so cool for you to bring up and use the space to talk about bullying is not only because it's happening around, but because I know a lot of parents think nothing is being done. And I know that for ICOE it's very important. We are in the department which we deal with student services, and it's their well-being. That's the name of our department. But there is the ability to do so much And it's an opportunity and an open mind from the parents to receive what we have. And it doesn't have to come from, a certain department or a certain area. A lot of it is research, but we're very lucky that we're in an agency that and an organization that cares that much to open the doors and the access for this kind of programs. Because it's not an easy access either. It's not easy to go to schools and explain, you're going to start talking about bullying and you're going to address it. It's not easy, but we have the outlet from the place that we're coming from. And the environment here, it's perfect setting for us to go out there and talk about it too. So I did want to make a point of it that for anything, there's so many areas in this department and in every department with ICOE. If parents want information, if they want to know how to do something, if they want, it's research and we're here. I get phone calls from parents for random things and I try to provide as much information as I can or resources because that one call might have made a difference for a child or for a family. So, I just wanted to point out that we're very lucky for what we have here. What we have getting out there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And
Thank you.
best of luck. And thank you for all the work you do here.
Thank you very much.